John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time. It is WWE Backlash 2025 in St. Louis. Match card and predictions video here today. Myself and NXT are in hot seat, and we're going to be discussing all the hot topics. Will John Cena retain the championship, or will Randy Orton become a 15-time world champion? Of course, that's not the only match on the card. We've also got Pat McAfee going against Gunther, the Ring General. We've got a fatal four-way for the United States Championship. Jacob Fatu will be defending against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. We've got Dirty Dominik Mysterio defending the IC title, the men's IC title, against Penta. And the women's Intercontinental Championship gets a PLE appearance. Lyra Valkyria will be defending against Becky Lynch. And of course, if you needed any reminder, the main event, of course, will be the main event of our stream as well. John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. NXT, welcome to the video and welcome to everyone watching as well. Hit that like button, share with a friend, subscribe, do all the good stuff that helps us on the algorithm, and get involved as well in the comments with your predictions of the show as well. NXT, first question as always, what are your excitement levels for WWE Backlash?
I mean, the problem I have with this show is that 3 of the titles changed hands recently. So although I'm not expecting many titles to be changing hands tonight, if any at all, I'm hopefully expecting this is one of these shows where this should be a really good wrestling show. So that's really what I'm aiming for with this one. But this should be a lot of fun. Like I said, you've got Gunther versus Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee can put on a decent display. The Fatal 4-Way should be a load of fun. 4 really good wrestlers. Lyra versus Becky has a really good, interesting story going into it. And just the main event as well, like Randy versus Cena in a role reversal where we have a heel Cena and a babyface Orton. It should be, like I said, a really good show.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that this will be a good show. Like I say, a good wrestling show. There's certainly some good quality matches on it, but my excitement level, I'm going for a 6 out of 10. It's a bit more low key for this one. Obviously, we've just come off the heights of WrestleMania, so a lot of top stars have been taking time off. Other ones are not booked on this show. We've had, for example, this past week on Raw, we had Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's not been on this show. CM Punk obviously making his return as well, like Bianca Belair also missing, Rhea Ripley off this show, Io Sky. So, but there is some top quality still on here, and obviously Cena versus Orton is obviously the big song and dance for this one. Of course, the show is in St. Louis, of course, where Randy Orton is from, and of course this will be their 22nd meeting. Of course, they've had 21 previous meetings with the likes of TLC matches, Hell in a Cell, and of course the infamous I Quit match from Breaking Point 2009. But the big question is, go on.
I was just going to say, the only other thing is obviously because it's been so soon after WrestleMania, there is obviously a WrestleMania hangover, which is, I think, what a lot of people are still burnt out from. So the fact that this comes so soon, like even you and me, when we talked about doing predictions, it's like, wow, 2 weeks afterwards, it seems a bit much. But like you said, it still should be a good show.
That certainly should be indeed. What match are you most looking forward to?
I mean, to be fair, like I said, the Fatal 4-Way for the IC title, 4 solid wrestlers should be a good display. I'm interested to see what they do with Gunther and McAfee. I think the story that they told on Raw and what this means going forward for Gunther should be really interesting. The main event as well, like I know there's a lot of going online where people are talking about they do what Orton famously did to Cena, where Orton slapped the referee, and people are saying, "Oh, Cena should do this." And it's kind of like, I want to do something a little bit different because we can't keep just role reversing stuff that we've done before. It's a bit blasé. But even Penta versus Dom, man, like I said, it should be a really good match.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of matches that should be really good. I am going to go and say, despite the fact that build-wise, it's not the match I'm most looking forward to, I think the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship should be a lot of fun. Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest. That screams to me that match could potentially steal the show here.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument for 3 or 4 of these to steal the show. So that's the exciting part, I suppose, to look forward to with this one, that anyone could do it.
Certainly indeed. Well, thanks everyone that's watching so far live. Like I say, hit the like button and also join in with your questions and comments and predictions as well as we dive in then to what will be our first match on the show we're going to talk about. course, it'll be Pat McAfee going against the ring general Gunther. Arguably, you could say this match has been building for months. You could say, if you really want to dig deep enough. Obviously, on the build to WrestleMania has been Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion, going against Jey Uso. And what does Pat McAfee do? Every time Jey Uso comes out, he gets on that commentary desk and he yeets away. He gets involved with the admiration of the fans, and of course with Jey Uso coming to ringside as well each and every time, to the point that Gunther took exception to it, where Pat would kind of almost cower off the first few times until WrestleMania happened and Gunther tapped out to Jey Uso the following night on Monday Night Raw. Gunther was not too pleased with the opinions of Michael Cole, decided to make an attack on Michael Cole, who's 60 years old, by the way. Pat McAfee, though, looked to make the save. Of course, whilst Pat McAfee went to make that save, it didn't go out too well for him because he's walking away from Gunther. Gunther got hold of him once again, put him in the sleeper hold. And what was quite a fun moment, all Pat's entourage trying to break it up along with the officials as well. Gunther was suspended after this, and that led to Pat McAfee doing an emotional promo saying he wanted Gunther at Backlash. Of course, he said that he was going to kick his ass. They had a face-to-face this past week on Monday Night Raw as well. And of course, whilst Pat McAfee was putting all the glory on Nebraska, he went to tell Gunther that he had gone soft. Gunther said that was all the motivation he needed. He's got the full focus on, and he is going to pretty much tear Pat McAfee apart when it comes to Backlash. And I think it was God had to be the one that would take his hands from around Pat McAfee's neck. So yeah, your thoughts on the build of Pat McAfee and Gunther? You're looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a solid build, and everyone kind of knows that, like the reason why the Gunther had the time off and stuff, and you know what I mean. Great hard working schedule, needs a break, so they do the storyline, which is, you know, is fine. Like, I don't know, like for me, I think the idea with this one is that Gunther absolutely has to destroy Pat McAfee. There's a lot of, I don't want to say damage done, but it's almost like Gunther's credibility has been destroyed by losing to Jey, because Gunther is that good of a wrestler. And I said it to you, like when we did the WrestleMania review, that Gunther is too good of an opponent for Jey to be losing against. So I think here we just get an absolute, like, almost a squash match, and we just get Pat McAfee absolutely destroyed by Gunther. Like, if this lasts longer than 10 minutes, I'll be shocked. But I would absolutely want Gunther just to destroy this guy. I mean, I can't, for any reason, think why Pat McAfee would win this. And I think that there is now a process of having to rebuild Gunther to a level that he was at before he won the World Heavyweight Championship. And this starts with absolutely destroying Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Gunther is showing a side of himself that we saw before he became World Heavyweight Champion. He's not really shown that side so much. If anything, he became a bit insecure and a bit shy as a World Heavyweight Champion, you know. But now he's sort of back into where he's lost the title. And like I said, he's refocused, he's energized, he's going to get back in once again. Pat McAfee obviously is going to be the first victim here. I kind of agree with you to a point that this is going to be pretty one-sided, this match. I mean, first things first, Pat McAfee knows how to sell a match. My goodness, he's done 2 impassioned promises these last 2 weeks, and they've been
he lost to Vince McMahon at WrestleMania.
I know. In ring, it could be different, but I mean, he's had good matches with Adam Cole in the past as well. But at the same time, this is going to be interesting to see how it's going to be in ring. But we're not expecting a Pat McAfee victory here. But I feel that it's an interesting match and proposition that WWE has put together, because Pat obviously is celebrity, great talk show, talks NFL, and you know, he's a celebrity to them that people will be interested in tuning for. If you're a casual, you will go and watch this match because Pat McAfee's in it. It's kind of like that Logan Paul effect, and kind of like the Bad Bunnies and whoever effect has been brought in outside. But like you said, this match, it should be one-sided. Gunther, I think, will be dominant. I think Pat McAfee will get a couple of moments that will scare Gunther, and then I think Gunther will put him out. I think Gunther will continue, though, a beatdown after the match. I would not even be surprised if Michael Cole was involved with the finish, like a classic, you know, throw in the towel, for example, or try to cower over Pat McAfee when he's a beaten man down, and that's when Gunther goes for Michael Cole. Now, you said something on our SummerSlam match card predicted too early. And you suggested that this match here could be a placeholder for a match in the future. And if Gunther turns his attention to Michael Cole after the ring bell happens, could what you suggest happen? And you can let everyone else know who hasn't seen it now.
I mean, I think, like I said, it's the match that a lot of people are sort of aiming for. Like, we all know this guy wants to retire this year. It seems like there's like 3 or 4 people that are aiming to do it this year. This guy, he wants to go out on a high. And I mean, if he makes an appearance, that I think that would be massive. And I think if you have the one and only Goldberg come out as Gunther has absolutely destroyed Pat McAfee, like if it's not this weekend, I would imagine it'd be the Raw after. But this guy, I think it's something to keep Gunther preoccupied, and I think that if Goldberg is in a physically good position, where like I know he famously said that his last run he was injured through most of it, and I think he himself wants to put on a really good display to show, look, I am in my 60s or however old Goldberg is now, but he wants to bow out on a high. And if you put him up against someone like Gunther, who can carry a lot of people to a really good match, I think that that's 100% the way to go. And like I said, I wouldn't be against him making an appearance here, but I think it happens on Raw. I think Gunther has to stand tall at this point, and we start laying the seeds for that one on Raw. But I wouldn't be against Michael Cole being involved in the finish as well. My only point is that if Michael Cole is involved in the finish, who does commentary for the rest of the show?
Well, and that's where it plays into it for me, because I have a feeling we have like the 3-man booth these days, don't we? We have Michael Cole, we have Pat McAfee, we have Wade Barrett. So I think if we have Wade definitely remaining on the table, I think if Gunther makes a play for Michael Cole after he beats Pat McAfee, I think that's when the music should hit for Bill Goldberg. It's just that extra buzz, something exciting for Backlash. And obviously, that was Goldberg's first match in WWE back in 2003. It was Goldberg versus The Rock. For those that want to be historical about things as well, would make sense to be the placeholder to build the match then for Goldberg versus Gunther moving forward. So, and of course, it's a former football guy saving a football guy. So it has that sort of connection as well, where it kind of makes some sense. So I think that it's going to go down. I think Goldberg will return this weekend. And if I'm honest, I'd like to see the match play out at SummerSlam like you predicted in our video that we did. That's on YouTube for those who haven't seen it. However, a part of me starts to think maybe then the match happens sooner. We've got Money in the Bank coming up next after Backlash. And of course, we've got rumored Night of Champions taking place as well. Could you see it perhaps taking place on one of those shows rather than SummerSlam now?
Possibly, or the only other thing is that, dude, we get Wade Barrett versus Gunther at some point. Dude, I would not be against that. I think a lot of people would like to see Wade Barrett back in the ring as well. And I think if it's a case of Gunther's just essentially going through the commentary team till we get to the point where Goldberg makes an appearance, I mean, hell, why not? But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think SummerSlam is the biggest stage that Goldberg want to go out on. Although Money in the Bank isn't a bad shout, but I just think with the 2 nights of SummerSlam, it's a perfect place to get this match in where you're almost like Goldberg isn't taking a spot away from someone else on those other 2 shows because they are one-night shows.
Certainly, indeed. So, final prediction, Ring General Gunther.
All the way.
All the way. Well, let's go into the comments and see what everyone has got to say. First off, we got Ezek in the house. Ezek Dogana says, I've got Pat McAfee to win, to beat Gunther. So there we go. We have a different opinion to us. And absolutely. And North South Connection in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. As Gunther McAfee will outkick its coverage. And just say as well that disagreeing. It says Gunther will win. Check out North South Connection, by the way, on YouTube. Fantastic wrestling content on that channel. In fact, I made an appearance on Elimination Chamber weekend. So yeah, go and check them out over there. You will not be disappointed. We'll move on next, and in the meantime, and we're going to actually dive into a fatal 4-way. Jacob Fatu defending the United States Championship against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. Of course, this fallout from WrestleMania, of course, Jacob Fatu becoming the brand new United States Champion, defeating LA Knight for the strap. Drew McIntyre defeated Damian Priest as well. Drew McIntyre wanted to go for a top championship. However, he said he wanted the baddest man in WWE. And right now, that's Jacob Fatu. And of course, Randy Orton kind of cut the line and got the match with Cena. So it made sense for McIntyre to get involved here. Of course, Priest, though, wasn't going to let that go. And of course, a number 1 contenders match between Drew and LA Knight was interrupted by Priest. And of course, a few shenanigans more. And we've got a fatal 4-way. I'm going to dive in with this one first here because, like I said, it's the match I'm most looking forward to. I'm quite excited about it. I think these four guys together could make some great chemistry, great near falls, all the good things you want to see in a fatal four-way match. But I think there's actually an underlining reason, you could say the real reason why I think this match is actually taking place. I think we're going in with two feuds of Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, of course, along with Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I think we're coming out the other side with two new feuds of Jacob Fatu versus Damian Priest and LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre. For that to take place for me, I'm going to go for Jacob Fatu to pick up the victory. I think he's going to pin LA Knight, and I think that it could be someone like Drew McIntyre that probably screwed the opportunity of picking up the pinfall victory. And Steve, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, that was the logic I was going with because we've just obviously seen McIntyre and Priest at WrestleMania, and I can't see Fatu losing this. And I think I think this is his second defense to that US title against another one that I'm not expecting to change hands. But like the fact that you've got Drew McIntyre in this position automatically tells me that this guy isn't taking a pinfall in this match because they're almost on a rebuilding point with him, and I don't think Priest can afford to take a second pinfall, like one show after the other. LA Knight is the kind of guy that can take a pinfall 2 shows in a row and it does him no harm, whereas I think Priest, this probably ruins his momentum going forward. But I like the logic that you come out with. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to go with those 2 new feuds. I go the exact same way that Jacob Fatu is going to pin LA Knight, and then, like I said, we get it gives Priest the reason to then go on and carry on with Jacob Fatu, and we get Drew the reason to carry on with LA Knight. It'll be a case of, I imagine it's going to be one of those sort of final few minutes where it's going to be finisher after finisher after finisher, and it's just going to end up in a medley, and someone's going to, or Jacob Fatu is ultimately going to end up retaining this championship. But like you said, I think the creative direction coming out of the show is 100% that.
Absolutely, especially after you go back to the Royal Rumble, there seems to be like stuff going on of like Will LA Knight and Drew McIntyre is the beef there and stuff. They can play into that as a feud moving forward. Priest seems to lack a bit of direction at this particular moment, so a match against him and Jacob Fatu would make a lot of sense, I think, moving forward.
I think as well, you're going to have McIntyre and LA Knight in the Money in the Bank match as well. So I think that if you have these 2 feuding coming out of this show, build it towards Money in the Bank, and this could possibly go until SummerSlam at this point, but there is going to be a reason why both of these guys are in Money in the Bank and pushing, and it makes a lot more sense going forward. And just having Priest involved in the US title scene ultimately keeps them both out of Money in the Bank, but there is a title on the line with those 2.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of the logic there. What it makes sense with, of course, Money in the Bank being the next show as well, and how that can play a factor in, and how you can actually take Priest out of that situation, a former Money in the Bank winner as well, and go for Jacob Fatu. So yeah, I like where you're going with a lot of that there. I think it makes a lot of sense indeed. So I guess then the final pick is Jacob Fatu.
Agreed.
Agreed. So let's go into the comments to see what they've got to say. Kickham Leo is in the house. Good to see you here, my friend. Also on YouTube, another fantastic channel. Did I want Drew to win? Because if he wins, he'll be a Grand Slam champion. Plus, I feel he would do some amazing work with the title. Who knows? Solo could interfere and turn on Jacob, but I don't see that happening. So I'm going to say Jacob retains. We didn't mention the idea of Solo Sikoa. Could you see him getting involved in this match? He is sort of lurking in the background. There is still that tease of Solo and Jacob breakup at some point.
I think that's the later plan after the Drew feud. I think that there is that feud ultimately will end up breaking those 2 apart, and they go on to be solo stars and possibly even split by maybe a brand split at some point next year, because I think it's going to be 2. I think depending on when the draft is, I think it's too soon to do that feud and then separate them. So I don't know. I think if anything, it helps Solo stay relevant for the time being, because where he's not competing for anything, at least he's got the opportunity to be on TV with Jacob and keep him relevant going forward.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that 100%. And obviously, we've seen how breakups play out in WWE. You only got to look at Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Still hasn't happened, hasn't it? It's been every month. So, but it feels like they are sort of going in that direction a little bit. Got a few new comments coming in here, but we've got Leo also said as well, Pat McAfee winning would be a shock of the decade, but Gunther wins and Goldberg returns. Possibly, so it looks like I could agree with our thoughts with Bill Goldberg. North-South connection, solo feud bigger than the US title belt right now for Fatu. I think right now for Fatu, I think he keeps it. I think Solo will get jealous and go for the title eventually, if I had to guess.
I mean, look, if someone else is going to win this title, I think my money is actually on Priest, because I think if anyone needs a winner coming out, it is Priest and a championship run. Either way, you can still do a rematch. I just think it's too soon. It's 2 weeks after WrestleMania, and I very much doubt that Fatu is going to be taking a loss, because I think that there's so much hype around this guy for the future, and I think making him lose so quickly after he's won the title, I just can't see it, unfortunately.
No, like you say, it's literally a couple of weeks after WrestleMania. He's just won the title, deemed one of the next big things. The only thing that goes in the favor here is the fact that I think if Jacob Fatu was ever to drop the championship, it's the type of match you do it in, because he is protected 100% in that way. He's not got to take him for loss. But still, it feels very, very early. Kiki Leo says the draft is supposed to happen after Money in the Bank heading into SummerSlam in July sometime. Thanks for Leo for that. I was thinking, when's it going to be this year? So thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it. We're going to look out for when WWE gives further details, I assume, in the coming weeks. But we'll move on in the meantime from one title match to another. Let's go on to the men's Intercontinental Championship match. Dirty Dominik Mysterio going against Penta. And it's been Penta's crusade to win the Intercontinental Championship for a number of weeks now. In fact, I believe at the time, Bron Breakker was actually champion. Going into WrestleMania, though, of course, Dirty Dominik actually won the IC title, pinning Finn Balor in the match as well, doing so. And he's come out the other side. And Penta's continued feuding with the Judgment Day. He's had a few matches this past week. Had a good match with JD McDonough on Raw. And of course, it was announced that we'd have a match with Penta and Mysterio. Looking forward to it. Should be fun. We've still got the friction, of course, with Dom and Finn. But an interesting note in the background is AJ Styles. AJ Styles has said whoever wins is coming for the Intercontinental Championship. And we've got a match next week on Raw with AJ Styles and Finn Balor, which I know you'll be very happy about. But my question for you, knowing that that's in the future, does that kind of spoil the outcome of this match here coming up on Saturday?
I mean, yes and no. Like, it kind of makes it a bit predictable, but on the plus side, I think there's a lot more going forward that they can do that will make it a lot more interesting. Like, obviously, if you're going to include AJ in this dynamic where you've basically got Finn and Dominik about to break apart, and then you're going to have almost like a civil war in the Judgment Day, depending on who like JD McDonough sides with, who Carlito sides with. I think this is just going to ultimately lead to a match at SummerSlam where it's just going to be like, I mean, I can't remember what I predicted for SummerSlam, but at the minute, you're almost looking like it's going to be a case of maybe Dom, Finn, AJ, possibly Cross, because Cross is getting involved slightly in it as well. Like, you're looking like this is going to build to a really good multi-man match at SummerSlam. And I'm kind of excited about that, but obviously we need the story beats to get there. And look, I'm not expecting this to be the cleanest of matches because it is Dominik Mysterio, but I'm expecting this to be very twisting and telling with this one, especially with the fact, obviously, that the dynamic between Finn and Dominik.
Absolutely, yeah. It should be interesting how it's going to play out. Like you say, I imagine there'll be some shenanigans in this match. Obviously, Finn Balor and Carlito were kicked away from ringside this past week on Raw for JD McDonough's match. So will a similar thing happen this week? Obviously, Chad Gable got involved in the same match as well. So he's got beef with Penta as well. So there seems to be already directions and paths moving outside of this. Is it going to be Penta, Chad Gable, or El Grande Americano? Or is it going to be Dirty Dom and AJ Styles? Or are we going to be completely doing a 180 and Penta does the surprise and actually wins the title? I mean, Penta might have been my pick had it not seemed like it's completely already set the direction after this show. But and I've got to be honest, I really want Penta as the IC champion. I think that it just would fit so well right now. He's had a really hot start in the company. He's got a killer entrance. He's got all the crowd binding with the Cero Miedo. The merch is doing well. He's got a unique look. And I just think matches are decent as well. It just shows that thing of like, you've come to WWE, we presented you as a star, continue that momentum as champion. But at the same time, you said it in the last match, Jacob Fatu's just won the title. So has Dirty Dominik Mysterio. It feels too soon for him to lose it. The only thing that could be a saving grace for Dom if he was to lose it, Liv Morgan's out of the picture for the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, if there's going to be a screwy finish on the show, that it'll be this match. I do. With regards to Penta, look, you're 100% right. They've made him like an absolute star. I mean, the fact that I think what I'm loving at the minute is the smooth operator dubbing on Penta's entrance. I do. It's so good, and the way that people are just finding all these random songs, and it just fits with Penta. It's just so funny, and like it's not. It's just entertaining, and like I'm just absolutely loving it. And it's like you feel like they've almost missed an opportunity to put this IC title on him at WrestleMania, even though Dom was the right choice. It's just a case of when, really, more than anything. And again, another one that I wouldn't be against seeing the title change hands, but I can't see it happening. But ultimately, I think at some point in the future he will be the IC champion. But like, there's other names that you mentioned that, like I said, if you go for a multi-man match at SummerSlam, Chad Gable putting in that position as well, because I completely forgot about him getting involved. Like, there is an excuse for this IC title. It's beginning to be what it should be, and like one of the most important titles in WWE, and having this catalog of names associated with it and people trying to win it, like AJ Styles, like Finn Balor, like it is just putting more prestige on what is probably one of the most prestigious titles in pro wrestling, and I'm all for that. It's just a shame, like I said, I can't see Penta winning, which is a shame, but you never know. SummerSlam is like only a couple of months away. Maybe his opportunity comes then, but we'll soon see.
We certainly will. And my favorite championship growing up was the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah,
like
100%.
So I agree. It's certainly adding prestige to that championship. But we've both gone for Dirty Dom to retain. So we're going to be diving into the comments once again, see what everyone's got to say. And Leo has got his opinions on this one. It says Dominik retains with help of the Judgment Day, but we'll see some more conflict with Finn and Dom, where he doesn't like interference by Finn, and Dom tells him to leave because he wants to win the match fair and square. Not so dirty, our Dominik Mysterio, if he wants to go down that avenue. Could you see? I mean, Dom had the real face reaction at WrestleMania. I do feel, though, since then it's not been quite the same on other shows. But do you feel that Dom could transition into a great baby face? Can't believe I'm saying that.
I think he will eventually. Like, I think we were talking about on the review for WrestleMania, where like he could be a great babyface that still gets booed to hell because it would be so funny. But like you said, he had that baby face look at him when he won that title. But if you look at the sort of the clips that they were putting up afterwards, where he's walking past Scott Steiner and rubbing it in his face that he'd just beaten Bron Breakker for the title, he's definitely not a baby face in a minute. But I imagine he'll get there eventually. Again, this is something that probably plays out more with the breakup of the Judgment Day, if and when it happens.
Yeah, probably it's delayed at this particular time, I guess. But I agree with Leo to a degree. I think there'll be conflict with the Judgment Day, but I will say that they are not going to be the reason that Dom retains. I will say it's Chad Gable, just so that gives something for that feud moving forward. But Leo went on to say as well previously, if Drew doesn't win the US title, he thinks he should win Money in the Bank. Drew's in one of my top picks to do so, but he's not my top pick. Who's your top pick at the moment?
It's Logan Paul for me. I think like that guy's on the road to winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and I think if he can't beat Jay in a one-up match, I think at some point he beats Jay by cashing in that Money at the Bank. I think if he's in it, he's favourite to win it, because I imagine Knight's going to be in it. I imagine McIntyre's going to be in it. I imagine Logan Paul's going to be in it, and there's probably going to be a couple of other really good names in it. But just Logan Paul is on that road to becoming a WWE champion, and I just think it's going to come via Money in the Bank.
To be fair, I mean, Drew was one name that I thought if there was a top three, because Kevin Owens is not going to be around. He was originally my pick at the start of the year. But yeah, Drew would be one of them. Logan Paul was the second, which makes so much sense as well with the impulsive, all of his outsider stuff that he does as well, carrying that thing around like he did with the US title. And you don't have to defend the Money in the Bank briefcase, so it's not going to affect as much if you do it. But my pick at the moment is Bron Breakker. And my reasoning for it is listening to the information that was given to him by Paul Heyman on Raw last night. He was saying along the lines of, Seth waiting for the right moment to make these opportunities to catch people off guard. Could you just imagine Bron Breakker with that briefcase and Seth being champion and waiting for the moment that Seth is caught off guard, taking all that information in from Heyman and Rollins like a sponge and turning on the group when the opportunity is right?
These guys have been together 5 minutes and everyone's already booking the downfall of it. Like, dude, give it some time to breathe. Look, I think if this match had happened, if these two had been put together 6 months ago, 100%, I'd be like, Bron is the guy, and it leads to that breakup. Dude, they've just got together, man. If anything, if this was like I said, if this was a year later, if we were going into Money in the Bank next year, 100%, I'd say Bron Breakker. I just think it's too soon. But again, I'm not against it. It's just a case of, look, they've just put these two together. They've just made them Paul Heyman guys. Look, man, all good things come to those who wait. And like, a lot of people have waited for this moment for ages. So just give it some room, man. Give it some room to breathe.
I mean, I'm not booking it in 5 minutes' time. It's not happening tomorrow. I mean, he could keep the briefcase till WrestleMania. Like, he's got a year to cash it in. So I mean, it's a long-term story. But Rollins is the champion, Breakker is the Money in the Bank holder, and obviously he could be then the guy that's protective of Rollins because no one else can cash in on Rollins if he had it at that point, for example. So there's ways that I
can't see Bron carrying around. Oh, mind you, saying that Paul Heyman carried the briefcase around for him. To be fair,
yeah, and they could always tease a lot of the time that perhaps he's going to go after Cena on SmackDown as well. So there's always things that can do with it. So I don't know. It's just a few things there.
Imagine that if he actually does win it and cashes in on Cena, and you've got Bron and Rollins as top champions in one faction. That's insane.
It would be massive, to be fair. Let's see what's more being said in the comments. Leo has got quite a lot of comments. Leo, I'm loving your actions tonight. Fantastic. Getting involved with some stuff here. Says, I feel deep down, Cody might win Money in the Bank, but I also think Alistair getting added to the match. He wants to see Finn Balor win the match, but hey, we'll have to wait and see what goes on. But he says Finn was talking to Roxanne in the background. Did not see that on Raw. Did not notice that at all. But I like when those little Easter eggs are presented. I also think Karrion Kross would also be a good shout. Karrion Kross wasn't featured on Raw this week unless he was in one of those 2-minute segments that I didn't see.
He was in a commercial break interview with Kathy Kelly, and it's cut from the edit on Netflix. I watched it live. It's the only reason I saw it, which is I think it's up on the YouTube, so you can still see it. But it was an advert break that was cut from the recorded cut.
They used to do those cuts out on like Wednesday. Now they're doing it like the next morning. Like if you don't watch Raw live, you don't see it.
I mean, I think that because Kross has got a lot of traction at the minute with obviously his post WrestleMania interview, plus obviously his self-made documentary that he's released, which I would advise anyone to go and watch because it's a really good insight into him as a person, and I think that's getting him a lot of traction as well, like just him being himself, and like he talks about doing Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and all that kind of stuff. And normally, like I think it was actually last week, I think Ludwig Kaiser has an interview, like that interview spot with Kathy, or apologies, I forget the other interviewee's name, but Ludwig Kaiser, that clip never appeared online, and that guy seems to have just disappeared from somewhere. Like for a guy that was building towards something, and like now he's just getting interview segments, which like they're just being cut from show. But like I said, Kross is getting some traction, so that's why they're posting his ones.
Gotta post them. It's Jackie Redmond was the name that he was.
Jackie Redmond, apologies, yeah, that's the one.
No worries. Let's move on in the meantime, though, to our next match. Then we've got the Women's Intercontinental Championship we're going to be discussing for us next. There's the graphic. Lyra Valkyria, the champion, the inaugural champion, the first ever champion, going against Becky Lynch. Something that Becky can't say for the first ever that she did. Of course, first ever SmackDown Women's Champion, first ever Women's WrestleMania main eventer and winner. Two belts Becky as well back in the day. But Women's Intercontinental Champion. First ever was Lyra Valkyria when Becky was on a holiday, apparently, according to Lyra. But of course, Becky did the attack on Bayley at WrestleMania, which of course took out Bayley for being a teammate with Lyra Valkyria, going for the women's tag team titles. Becky would return and team with Lyra. They would win the championships and then would lose them the following night on Raw. This would lead into Lynch turning on Lyra Valkyria, and she's going to describe Bayley as garbage, and she's described Lyra as recycling. Although Lyra's pretty much said that Becky's recycled her last few years as a career because it's kind of got a bit stale, hasn't it? And she's also going to say as well that regardless of what Becky's achieved, she always knows that she's already the better wrestler of the two. There's been some killer lines from Lyra Valkyria in this build. I've quite enjoyed Lyra's role in it. Becky Lynch for me. In fact, I want your thoughts on it first. Thoughts on the heel turn?
I'm all for it. The problem is when do they kind of like make the most of it and elevate it to a point where like you're going to build either a really big baby face or we're building towards something else? And I don't know if this is that match. Like, of all the matches on the card, this is the one that's obviously the hardest one to tell. Lyra's been in IC champion for months now, and this one is probably the most likely to change hands if it does change hands. And I think they've done such a fantastic job with Lyra's promo work and her promo on Raw that it's kind of like I kind of want to see Lyra retain, because I think beating Becky makes her a bigger star. Because a win over Becky Lynch is a win over Becky Lynch regardless. But when you do it as IC champion, as mid-card champion, all you're really doing is sort of elevating Lyra to more of the main event scene for a world championship, for a WWE championship. So by all means, a win over Becky could be huge. But then if Becky does win this and becomes IC champion, we then look towards, well, maybe the idea is that it's going to be Bayley versus Becky at like SummerSlam, for instance, for the IC title. But then I don't think this is a one and done. I think that this is a case of they build to a repeat match. For instance, like I'm going to go ahead and say that Lyra retains via DQ because I think Bayley is going to return, ultimately get involved, cost. I think actually, no, I say, yeah, Lyra is going to retain. Becky will win the match via DQ because Bayley will return. We're then going to build to Bayley versus Becky, and then ultimately that will lead to either Lyra versus Bayley or Lyra versus Becky again, or all three in a triple threat match for the IC title.
I like the sound of all that. Certainly a different direction to what I was.
I've waffled a lot of that.
No, I like it though. I like it. Yeah, it makes it. The triple threat match element is particularly for me. I think something that could be quite exciting with the three ladies together. But
because then
first off,
just to say quickly as well, because then if you do the triple threat and then Lyra beats both Bayley and Becky, again, all you're doing is just elevating Lyra to a higher platform because she's beaten two former multi-time women's champions.
Yeah, of course, and that certainly would elevate her stock nice and quickly. Firstly, great to see the Women's Intercontinental Championship on a WWE PLE.
100%.
About time. It's the first time it's been defended on one of these shows, so great to see it. Secondly, it is good to see Lyra and Becky working together again. Clearly, we're looking to put Lyra Valkyria and make her a bigger star here. This is certainly something that Lynch obviously will want to do. They've done it previously in NXT. Obviously, Lyra winning the NXT Championship from Becky Lynch, of course, which worked really, really well back then. The question is, though, do you do the same thing this time round? Or do you have, like you say, a multi-match program? It's interesting to see what WWE's going to do, but Becky Lynch has just turned heel. You need to get some momentum with that heel turn. For me, controversially, I'm not the biggest promo fan when it comes to Becky Lynch, especially as a heel. It's not 100% was for me. I feel she's a bit shouty for my liking. I think she can be just a bit arrogant and have these killer lines without having to be so panicky and rushed about it. I guess she's meant to be rattled because the fans are booing her, but at the same time, I think I'd prefer her just to take a bit more, I don't know, a bit more time with the promo work and just not be so shouty. But I
should be more arrogant than anything because of what she's achieved in wrestling. She shouldn't be like almost jumping to defend herself every time. It should be a case of, look, I'm like I'm Becky, 2 belts. I'm the man. I'm this. I'm that. It should be more of an arrogance heel than more of a desperate heel.
Slide back more into the big time Bex rather than the man Bex, I think.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that this has certainly been. I've enjoyed the feud up to this point. I'm going for Becky Lynch to win here. I think she's going to cheat to win as well, because I think this is also something that Lyra's done a great job at the championship. She's had multiple defenses on Raw. In fact, Lyra said she's done more defenses of that IC title than Becky's appeared all year, as one of the killer lines that she used. But I think that we're gonna put some more focus on this women's IC title. I think that Becky's gonna take this, and I think she's going to take it to levels currently Lyra cannot, because like we said, Becky Lynch with the history, what she's done, and I think that it will become to a point where Lyra probably will win this title back. But I think this Saturday in St. Louis, like you said, we need certainly at least a title change on this show. This one I think is the most likely of them, but not to say that I'm not going to predict there will not be another one. But I will say that Becky Lynch will win the title here.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the correct answer. I mean, like I said, I'd Becky win either way, whether it be via DQ or whether she actually wins the title. But ultimately, I think it leads to Bayley getting involved at some point, and possibly Lyra, and then we get a triple threat. And I think a triple threat between these three would be amazing. And especially like if you put the IC title on the line, they're doing the exact thing they're doing with the men's title and elevating what the Intercontinental title stands for. I know that obviously it's been around for 6 months, but the name in itself is prestigious, and the fact that you're adding names like Becky Lynch and Bayley to that title shows that it is a serious championship.
Certainly, indeed, and looking forward to seeing what they do with it next. And hopefully, this is the start of what will be a long summer program between the two. But chapter 1, I'm going to go for Becky Lynch, and then Steve is going for a Lyra retain, although Becky to win by DQ. Let's go into the comments then. Leo says, I think just like Tiffany winning at Mania, it was a big win for her, and it elevated Tiffany as a character and as a champion. I think Lyra beats Becky and enhances Lyra as a champion and character. They certainly have done that with her character work in this program. I hope that they will eventually do it with championship as well, but I've gone for a different result. But he goes on to say as well, she wins with the help of Bayley, and either the transition to a singles feud with Bayley and Becky or becomes a triple threat for the title, just like you suggested as well.
The thing is they have to play off that. They have to play off the fact that Lyra and Bayley were supposed to be in that spot for the tag titles. They did that gauntlet match. They went the distance. They won that. Like these three are basically intertwined for the next 3 to 4 months.
Certainly, indeed. Wesley's in the house as well. Leslie going for Lyra to pick up the win. Good to see you, Wesley. And also good to see you, Paul, as well. Wants to see a brand new Women's United States champion ASAP. Clearly not a fan of Zelina Vega's reign. However, there's only one name, isn't there, that should be winning that title?
Yeah, of course, Chelsea Green.
There you go. Covered. So weird. All done for you.
Do you know what? As soon as she lost that title, when I was like, oh my God, half my match card, my SummerSlam prediction, my WrestleMania prediction out the window. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chelsea could win it back by then, but I was like absolutely gutted. But I suppose, look, if she doesn't win it back, you know what it means? It means Chelsea Green wins Money in the Bank, obviously.
I think she's a contender. I really do.
Absolutely, 100%.
Keep an eye. Watch this space. Chelsea Green for Money in the Bank. Right. Let's move on in the meantime then, and it's what you've all come here for. So before we can move on to the match, hit that like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well. Do all that good stuff as we talk about the WWE Championship one last time, John Cena versus Randy Orton. 21 previous meetings between these two in the past, of course, starting at SummerSlam in 2007. And of course, the most recent was on a SmackDown episode in February in 2017. They've had TLC matches, of course, unifying championships. They've had an I Quit match at Breaking Point, personally my favorite Cena Randy Orton match. And of course, they've had Hell in a Cell as well. This is the last time, though. And well, this one's been built a little bit different because, well, Randy Orton's the good guy and John Cena's the heel. He's the bad guy. Something we haven't seen with any of their previous encounters. And this one, well, Randy Orton's pretty much said, Cena, you need to grow up. You should become a dad. Where Cena said, look, I've been pretty much a dad for the last 20 years. I've been raising all of these people's children watching at home, and they don't know how to raise them correctly. So it was my job to do so. Randy Orton has gone on to say since then that, well, he is the legend killer, and John Cena is now a legend that he needs to put down. And it seems like a Punk kick could be coming its way here in St. Louis, which of course is Randy Orton's hometown. Now, first off, before we go into any results and all the rest of it, there's been many John Cena Randy Orton matches over the years. It was inevitable we were going to get one more on this retirement tour for John Cena. Not everybody wants to see it, but some people are really keen to see it. And Nick, Steve, I want to know, do you want to see John Cena versus Randy Orton one last time?
I mean, look, famously, they're used to putting 20-minute rest hold classics on. Hopefully, we don't get that here. And dude, as long as Travis Scott doesn't make an appearance, I'm sure it'll be all right. The only problem is, dude, you've already summed up in the preview you just said. Randy Orton is the hometown hero, and what the WWE love doing with the hometown hero. I'm sorry, you're taking an L. Like, if you couldn't be more certain about anything with WWE, the hometown hero always loses. But regardless, look, this should be interesting in terms of just like the dynamic in itself. The fact that we have a heel John Cena and a babyface Randy Orton, the first time ever it's been done, and these guys have been in the business for 20 plus years, and they faced, like you said, 21 times they faced each other. And even like in promos and stuff before, we've never had this dynamic. So having Randy come out, and he's going to get a massive pop because it is his hometown. And John Cena's going to get possibly one of his worst entrances in terms of crowd reaction because, again, of who he's going up against. Should set it up nicely. Like, I want to see John Cena be an absolute scumbag. Like, I want to see him attempt to put on a 20-minute rest hold match just to wind up the St. Louis fans and just to see Randy's comeback. But ultimately, I can't see Randy winning the 15th, unfortunately. I mean, in the future, would love to see it, but it's John Cena, man. And look, even as a heel, it's John Cena wins lol. Like, you just can't get over that fact. He is that guy that just his 5 moves of doom and he wins, and it's the same. And I think that what they've got to do importantly with this match is get over the WrestleMania finish. I mean, I don't know if you saw it. There's a clip going around from Bully Ray how they could have booked that so much better. And I was like, my God, that would have saved so much face. And I think now is the point where we have to be like, right, we have to start building this John Cena heel run better, because we failed ultimately because everyone has pooed all over the WrestleMania result. So it's going to start here. I'm expecting some heelish tactics from John Cena. I reckon I don't expect this to be match of the night, but in terms of story going forward, I'm hoping that this delivers a lot because it needs to.
I mean, it's the main story of the show. So, yeah, story of the night, this needs to take it. And they've got a lot of history they can work off of. But, yeah, and I have heard the clip from Bully Ray. Just for those that haven't heard it, for clarity, the suggestion was for John Cena, Cody Rhodes, how that finish could have played out on WrestleMania is The Rock's music could have hit, but The Rock doesn't appear, but the distraction was enough for John Cena to win the match and win the title, to the point that The Rock then on these appearances afterwards could have said, look, I have already got Cody's soul. I didn't need to even be there. I was in his head, and it cost him the championship. Yeah. It's as simple as ABC, which I think, would have worked really, really well. But I also do feel that the dynamic that they've done at the end of that Cena-Cody match, where obviously Cody had the choice of being the face or the heel. If we take The Rock, and it was never a thing, we forget The Rock even was a part of this and the soul stuff. I like the story they with Cody of like, will you be the good guy or the bad guy here? Because Cody opting to be the good guy means one day later he will opt to be the bad guy. It'll either be a clever baby face, or it could transition into a double face and heel turn for Cena going back to being face and Cody going heel. Be interested to see what they do if Cody takes that the next time around they actually face. Because I think Cena and Cody will face one more time before Cena retires. But that's a different story for a different day. The match obviously is John Cena versus Randy Orton. That's why everyone here currently is watching. So I should give my take on this match and everything you have just said on that. I kind of agree. Like in ring wise, this won't be the strongest match on the show. It will not be. However, I do feel story wise, it will be a match that I think a lot of the crowd is going to make everyone invested into wanting to know, especially with Randy Orton's near falls. Will Randy Orton win a 15th world title one day? I hope so. Could Randy Orton even go on to win 17? Well, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Randy ended up on 16 before he finished. But I think that his time is not here. It's not now. Cena's another one that's just won his title at WrestleMania. Cena, it's his time to have this terror over the company, the dates and countdown clock of how many dates he's got left, escaping as the real world champion and the last champion. You keep the story going at this particular point. So John Cena retains. How he does it, I'm not sure. I'm just like you. I'm praying it's not Travis Scott.
Yeah, it's just mean as long as they keep him away for the minute, because again, a lot of stigma going around with that guy, and he's kind of ruining a lot of stuff in terms of. But again, it's more for the hardcore fans that he's ruining it, and I know that we're quite a bitter crowd, and we're set in our ways, and we like things to be done properly, but. At the end of the day, we're the loyalist fans. We're the ones that watch every week. We're the ones that watch every pay-per-view. We're the ones that go online and look at dirt sheets, and we're the ones that are invested mostly in the product. And you kind of have to, like I said, you've almost got to repair, not the damage, but you've almost got to repair the relationship between the hardcore fans and WWE, because that's where the damage has been done. And Travis Scott, like I said, after the black eye he gave Cody, he rubbed so many people up the wrong way. And it's kind of like, look, just don't, if you're going to use him sparingly, use him for this tag match that you supposedly want to do, but just don't have him appear at St. Louis. Because ultimately, he'll cause a riot at one city. And it could be this one, especially because Randy is the hometown hero.
Could there be, because you've alluded to a tag team match, which of course has been in the rumor mill, John Cena, Travis Scott against somebody. Could it be against Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, aka a legacy reunion, or would you see it as like a Cody and a celebrity, for example? Bad Bunny, for example, could kick in as another music style.
I'll tell you a celebrity who you could get involved just because he has history with Cody. Stephen Amell.
Yeah, that would work.
Stephen Amell has history as a celebrity. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's probably not the biggest star you could pull, but the point is he has history. He has a match in WWE against Cody, as when he was against playing Stardust. So there is a history there, but ultimately, it probably is going to be someone like Bad Bunny.
Do you, I suppose it's yes or no answer, and I know our comments will know that this is not what we want. So when I say yes or no, it's just whether you think it will happen. Does Travis Scott turn up this Saturday in St. Louis?
Probably.
I'm leaning on probably as well. I don't want it to happen.
I was going to say, let me just Google and see where Travis Scott, if he's got a tour on or anything, and see if he's performing this weekend. That would be the only saving grace to know he ain't turning up.
Can only hope so, indeed. But hey, that's our thought. So final take on this one. We think this will be story of the night. And it is billed as one last time. John Cena looks like he's the one that will be taking the win. So that means John Cena's current record with Randy Orton. John Cena has 13 wins. Randy Orton has 7. They have 1 draw. That means that John Cena would have 14 wins over the Viper and Legend Killer.
Agreed.
We are indeed. Let's go into the comments then, and then we will wrap things up here today. We'll start off then with Leo, because Leo has been so good on this stream. Honestly, he's been like an MVP with his comments today, keeping us busy. He says, John Cena wins and continues to attack Randy, and Cody possibly returns. He says, I could see this match being really bad. Why John Cena is on a mission to ruin wrestling, and how he can do that and give us fans a very bad match because he feels we don't deserve his best. To be fair, though, whilst I agree with that in performance-wise, surely he has to give his best, though, to beat Randy Orton.
Like I said, that or it's a 20-minute rest hold match where he just has him in a headlock for most of the time, and he's berating the crowd, telling them to shush. You know what I mean? That's probably the best character work you could get out of John Cena from this.
Certainly would be indeed. Wesley is going for a brand new champion in Randy Orton, and Roy in the house as well. Roy, thank you for joining us. I hope we see an RKO out of nowhere. Randy Orton wins, but he actually really thinks that Cena will win. So there you have it. That is the takes there. And that's our predictions for WWE Backlash in St. Louis. Thank you everyone that's been watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well, and all that good stuff. And if you want to stick around for us for about 60 seconds and let me indulge you just with a little bit of stuff that you can check out on the channel now and what's coming up as well. And starting with what's coming up, it's Backlash week. So maybe join us tomorrow for this. It's a watch along, worst match ever. Zombie Lumberjacks. It happened. Backlash 2021. Damian Priest versus The Miz. You asked for it. We will deliver a live watch along tomorrow.
I'm insulted and outraged at the fact that you would call this the worst match ever. This is entertainment gold.
I put this out as an advertisement about a few days ago. One person went, "It's not the worst match ever," and I was just like, "Do you know what? It probably isn't." But I hated it at the time. I hated it because it wasn't. Now I would expect.
I think that Backlash is such a good card. Like, everyone hated this one match on the card, and I think, you know what? This was the halftime break that this show needed. I think it's great. I can't wait to watch it again.
If the zombies were not there, this could have been a 10 out of 10 show. This is how much it killed the show. But I like the fact, you feel very different on it, which is what's going to make it a hell of a fun video tomorrow.
I love it.
Join us for it, because we want to know, what side are you on? Well, that's what we'd like to know. And I get to watch it for the first time since, because like I said, you didn't know there was going to be zombies at the time. We thought we're going to get people like Lucha House Party that weren't getting any TV time being lumberjacks. But hey, it is what it is, and we get to relive it tomorrow. But if you like us looking into the long-term future with the match card predicted videos that we have been doing, if you've seen any of them at all, and if you haven't seen any, these are the ones you've got to go and see. SummerSlam 2025 at MetLife in New Jersey. Yes, we've got you covered. We've got that one predicted. That was released last Friday. We've got WrestleMania 42, which was released yesterday. Will The Rock be there? And if so, who will he be facing? And of course, as well, the Hall of Fame as well. That is available on the channel for you right now. All way too early for 2026 and SummerSlam 2025, but certainly videos we highly recommend you go and check out. But thanks all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. Big thank you to NX Steve next to me as always for his insight and obviously his preview and predictions. Thanks to everyone in the comments as well for your questions and your predictions as well. And we'll see you for the next video. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.